Welcome to the Sports Council.
We knew having the quality but also the quantity back, that we had something special, and they just really are, like I said, are bought in, and we want to compete for that Big Sky Championship.
The council is now in session.
With a personality shaped by being an athlete and a background in mainstream sports media, I found that the stories I was most interested in telling were the ones often overlooked, the ones that might not otherwise be told, the ones that show the intangible and not just the highlight reel. The Sports Council is about highlighting the great, the good, the unique, and everything in between in the Pacific Northwest sports world. I'm Jamie Council. Thanks for joining me.
You're listening to the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, the Tri-Cities leader in sports.
Joddie Gleason, head women's basketball coach at Eastern Washington.
And how long have you been here at Eastern?
This is the third year.
And during those 3 years, you've made a lot of strides. So I guess just kind of talk about how it's progressed, where you've really turned this program around.
Well, thank you. I think it's just really going back to that first year. We just try to do things the right way. We try to build relationships with our players. We just really worked on playing together, playing for each other. And that first year was all about building that trust, building that culture, and kind of taking our lumps here and there, where we started 3 freshmen and 2 sophomores, and now they're all juniors and seniors. We had another freshman coming in off the bench playing significant minutes, and so all those guys are juniors and seniors. And then we added some key pieces with Jamie Luetta and Aaliyah Alexander, Aaliyah coming back from injury and Jamie as a transfer. So, you just kind of, put in the work, and it kind of sounds cliche, but we just try to do things the right way.
And you guys just broke set program history, I should say, of getting past that 7 wins in a row, hitting that 8, and hopefully beyond, but we won't talk about that moving forward. But how does it feel just to be a part of program history?
Yeah, it's cool. It's something that I think is interesting for fans and media and that kind of thing. And while we appreciate it, I didn't even know that it was a record that was out there until our SID, Matt, told me. And so we just try to, focus on one game, and we end up stacking games after you get a few in a row. And, this group just works really hard, and it's just so fun to coach. So it's a great honor, but we're always just looking at the next game.
Yeah, I love just the way your team plays, and we'll get into that. But first, I do want to talk about how you got to Eastern. What is your background?
Yeah, I started out in California. I'm from Northern California, and I started out as coached high school for a couple years, and then junior college was my first head coaching college job, and was at Butte Community College in Northern California for 5 years, and then got the head coaching job at Humboldt State, which is a D2 program, and from there was asked to join Susie Barkham at Seattle U as an associate head coach, and Skip and I both were asked to join her when she got that job. So we decided to, get some D1 experience, and we love Seattle. So it was just kind of like a big jump, I guess. And we went to Seattle for a few years, 5 years, and then
fell in love with the Pacific Northwest.
I know, and then now we're still in Washington, and I talked with Lynn Hickey and some other people about the Eastern job when it opened, and was fortunate enough to come over here, and we love it.
Seems like a good fit.
Yeah, we really like it. We, Skip and I both went to Chico State in Northern California, so we're and then Humboldt State. It kind of reminded us of those two things. It's a college town, a little smaller, and it's kind of just fit really well for us. And so we just kind of fell in love with it.
Yeah, and I played 1 year in the CCAA. So when you said, yeah.
Where?
Cal State San Bernardino, except for I played soccer.
You told me that. That's right.
Yeah. So very well aware with California, and talking about Skip, he's your associate head coach, but also your other half. I won't say better half because I don't know you guys on that level, but it's very interesting, and that's something that I talked to Luke Burns about, is the dynamic of having a husband, wife, both on the coaching staff. It makes it very easy, but talk about those challenges as well, where it's something that is, I guess it's a newer dynamic, but it certainly works for you and Skip as well as Eastern Washington women's basketball.
Yeah, it isn't a new dynamic for us, I guess. We worked together at Humboldt, I think it was 8 years, maybe 9, and then 5 at CLU, and then now the 3rd year here. So it was just something that we decided to give a try, I guess, when we were at Humboldt State. And Skip was a head coach on the men's side at a local community college, and I was at Humboldt, and we were just kind of both going our own, different ways. We're both doing really well, but your spouse isn't there, when you win a championship or you have a tough game. It's kind of back and forth, and so we ended up trying to see if it would work, and it worked for us. And we have some friends that kind of do the same thing, and we kind of, talk to them a little bit. And we knew that our marriage was more important, so if it didn't work, we would go back to being separate. But it works for us. Probably the biggest challenges are more, family type of stuff with our daughter, trying to make sure that, her life isn't impacted too much when we're both gone, or, we just have such crazy schedules. But she's really involved with the players and the program, and that's always a great part of it as well.
I blame love in basketball.
Yeah, right.
And I love that story, and just, your guys' personalities also work so well and complement each other. And the girls, I think, respond well. It shows on the court. And so let's talk a little bit about this year's team, a very special group.
They are. We always talk about trying to recruit quality people as well as really good basketball players, and we've hit the jackpot with the ones on our team right now. We try to get it right every single recruit. We don't always get it right, but we really try hard to do our background, to really get to know players before they come here, to see if they fit in, all those kinds of things, and then we really work hard at building culture and getting them to buy in and playing unselfish basketball, and just it's all about the team. And just our leadership in the program really, drives it home more than us. If you can get that, and when your locker room can run itself, then that's typically, bodes well for coaches. But like you said, this team is really special. They're fun to coach. They come ready to work every single day. They buy into our scouts, and our assistant coaches work extremely hard to get our scouting reports ready, and our staff has our plan, and they just lock in defensively and really work extremely hard at that end of the court. Even if maybe our shots aren't falling, our offense might not be where we want it, they are consistently just never ending tireless defense, and so I'm just super proud of them, and they deserve all the recognition that they get.
And what goals have you guys set for yourself, unbeaten so far in Big Sky play and record breaking, but game by game, I guess, what have you guys set for yourself for this season? We knew,
we had 16 players returning off of a team last year that it ended up making some noise in the Big Sky, and, getting to the semifinal round of the tournament, and, getting 16 players back is, just unprecedented in this day and age with the transfer portal. And so we knew having the quality but also the quantity back, that we had something special, and they just really are, like I said, are bought in, and we want to compete for that Big Sky championship. We got a taste of it last year, and I think that was really motivating for our players, just to work really hard in the off season, work on their individual games, to work on their relationships, to really continue to build the program and get even more cohesive, and so that was something that as a staff we wanted to focus on. And while that end result is always there, that we want to win a Big Sky championship, I think you can, all 10 teams want to win a Big Sky championship, so it can't just be that you say it. And so we really just try to break it down into continuously getting better, and like I said, just trying to focus on that week. We focus on one game, and then once that one's over, then it's the next one. So it's so funny because I'll get interviews about the second team that we play in the week, and it's tough because I literally don't look at the second team until the first game's over. And so, we know some of the player personnel and those kinds of things, but we're really trying to, to focus on one game at a time.
This is a good problem to have. I'll preface this question by saying that, but you guys are so deep. I mean, you have Jamie Loetta returning, a defensive player and a preseason Big Sky player. And then Aaliyah Alexander, she's just kind of taken off this year. And then even with your starting five, that rotates because a player will get hot. And it's like, how do you not start her? And then you also have Pettis coming off the bench, just playing those minutes where you really have, I would say, your starting seven. Mm-hmm. How do you manage that? Because you don't get that with a lot of teams.
Yeah, it isn't easy, I think. But we just really, value every single player on the team, whether they play a lot of minutes or they don't. And there's something to be said, I think, with those that don't get in the game. I would love to play everybody, but there's a finite number of minutes. There's those 200 minutes. There's 4 positions at 20 or at 40 minutes, 5 positions at 40 minutes. And so you can't just make up minutes. And so I think that they kind of understand that yes, I would love to play every single person. I think they all work hard enough. They compete in practice, but it's just not that, type of thing when you're at this level. So we try to keep it so that it doesn't change too much. We had Jadia Martin out with injury last year and, was an all-conference player, and she was coming in off the bench for a while. And then we kind of just wanted her to get, feeling comfortable and just kind of back to her old ways. And so we waited quite a while before we entered her in the starting lineup. And then Jaleesa Lawrence was there in her place, and Jaleesa just kind of always steps in when we have injuries. Last year we had Jadia out, we had Jacinta out, we had Aaliyah out at different times. And then Jaleesa's the one that just is kind of that glue, right? She just kind of steps in whenever it's needed. Buck was sick a week ago or whatever that one game. So it's just kind of, we just rotate those guys based on not really how, if they're hot one game or not. It's just the cohesiveness, just the subbing. Sometimes it's matchups with the opponent or, how we think that we feel we would match up best. So we don't want to mix it up too much, but it ends up, kind of, getting a mismatch here and there.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is a change from last year or, like you said, you lost a lot of people, even Loetta being injured a bit, and maybe that just kind of changed the dynamic, but it seems more like you try to limit those changes to try to give less players more minutes. Is that a change, or is it just the assignment with injuries of past years?
Yeah, it's mostly to do with maybe matchups, or if an opponent is playing zone a lot, then, that's more conducive to, Jaleesa getting more minutes off the bench than somebody else. It's kind of based on a lot of different factors. But I think some programs, you play your 5, maybe 8 players usually play a ton of minutes. And then it's always the next 2, are you going to play 2 people 10 minutes, 5 minutes, or are you going to play 4 people 2 minutes? We'd rather have somebody get comfortable and play those 2 to 3 extra people, those 5 to 10 minutes and really try to get them more comfortable instead of playing 12 people and, a bunch of them are in and out. So that's kind of our philosophy. And while it's tough for those that don't make that cut, but it's, they work extremely hard. Like I said, they're bought in and they're ready if somebody gets in foul trouble, if they, go down for whatever reason. So we always are talking about just like knowing your role and valuing that, and we value it, and we try to draw attention to those that are maybe helping us on scout or that are maybe guarding Aaliyah and Jamie and those guys in practice and really challenging them to get better and all those kinds of things. So we really just try to value those guys just as much because they are huge and important for us.
And then on the roster, you do have a lot of local talent. I think in Thursday's game, somebody said, I love number 10. And you have a lot of people from Spokane or even Loetta from Moses Lake, just hop, skip, and a jump. How do you approach recruiting where even though Loetta did transfer from ASU and you have those hometown players that may be transferred coming back home, how do you recruit? Because you do have a lot of local talent on the roster.
Yeah, it's intentional. We try to recruit Pacific Northwest kids. We, have a lot of, our fingers in a lot of places with, Washington, Idaho, Oregon, even in California, probably are the states that we know the most. And what's on our roster, I think we have 11, Washington kids. And that's because we really try to dive into the Pacific Northwest with our recruits. And then, you don't always get them initially out of high school, but you might get them back, after with the transfer portal these days. So we just really think that it's important. We're a state university. We employ people in the region. People graduate from Eastern Washington and work locally or stay and are in our region. And so we feel like we need to represent the state with people that are relatively local. And of course, they have to be good enough. It's not just because you're local. That's not the reason we're going to recruit somebody. But it kind of is that double whammy. And then the 3, Spokane Valley kids, we love to have that. We have Jacinta Buckley and Andy Zilak from Lewis and Clark, and then Ellie Bonai transferred back home and is went to U High. So it's nice. I think that they get to have the best of both worlds. They have their family that's here ready to help and support them, and then they're able to play on a great team and get a good education.
Yeah, I love that. And what advice would you have for area players? There's, like you mentioned, a lot of talent in the Pacific Northwest and a lot of people that are looking at Eastern. And it's a two-way street. That's something that a lot of people don't really realize. But I guess what advice would you have to recruits that want to play at the next level?
Yeah, I've been fortunate to coach at almost every level. And I think that something that maybe gets missed is that there's a spot for everyone. That it may not be Eastern Washington. It may not be a Division I school. It might be a Division II school. It might be a JC to start, and then you develop. It might be an AIA program, it's whatever. And each place just offers something different. It's not just the basketball. And I think a lot of times people get caught up in the level. And I'm a D2 product and proud of it. I think that it's something that is really good basketball and good education and all those things. So I think that not getting caught up in that, and then if you really want to play, then you have to put in the work. And so come watch our games, come watch, different games just to see what the level is and the amount of physicality and the size, that you have to be and the strength and all those kinds of things. So I think people don't realize that how good our players are. And, you just kind of have to separate yourself and be different. It can't just be that, oh, you're a great scorer. You have to have just, ABC. There's so many different factors that have to impact whether we're going to recruit somebody. And so we encourage people to come watch us, to come to our elite camps, to make sure that we know who you are. And, we're pretty familiar with all the high schools and all the club teams in our region. But it just helps. It shows you're interested when you come. And then we, get to know people better and all those kinds of things.
And how would you describe the play, your style of what you put on the court?
Yeah, we want to, like I said earlier, we want to defend really well. We like to have bigger guards that can be versatile, so they can play multiple positions. You see that defensively where we can switch 1 through 4. And so Jacinta Buckley is playing the 4 for us, but she's guarding point guards a lot. And so we like to have more athletic and long and athletic guards than or forwards than maybe a big power forward, because then you have to do some different things in on balls. But we're happy to do both, but that's just kind of where we like it defensively. And then offensively, we like to get out and run. We love to have attacking guards that can break people down and can either score themselves or can set people up. And as you know by watching us, we aren't don't shy away from shooting it. And so we're, happy to launch those threes when we're open. So, but it all kind of starts with getting out in transition, having that attack mindset, and then, finding your open teammates when they're open and being unselfish. So we really just try to move the ball until you can get a good look. And then it's usually, sometimes it'll be the layup, sometimes it'll be the inside out, but it kind of all starts with that attack mode.
Yeah, we always say that the game doesn't officially start until you hand the other team a shot clock violation.
I heard you guys say that. That's a good one. That is a goal. You can tell we get fired up when we get one of those. So it's nice that you guys recognize that. But and that's just work to be able to get somebody to not get a shot off. It's tough and it's challenging, but I think our players do a good job with that.
And why basketball for you?
Ooh. Yeah, it has to be from my family. So I grew up the middle child, 2 brothers, and my dad is a basketball coach. He's retired now, but he was a high school boys coach, so he never coached me. He coached both my brothers. We just grew up in a house where all you did was play outside. All you did was play sports. We didn't, really do a lot of other things. It was a time where, in the summers, it's sunrise to sunset pretty much. You're outside, you're playing basketball, you're playing wiffle ball, you're playing football, you're, riding bikes, you're doing all the things. And so I was really a tomboy and just played with all the boys. There was no girls in my neighborhood. And so you just kind of learn to be tough. You learn to compete. My dad also was a fast pitch softball pitcher. So he played baseball at Sac State, actually. And then, once you get out of that, he started playing softball in the summers. And so we just spent all our summers either watching his games or, playing ourselves on the side. And you just kind of learn that competitiveness. And so I think we just grew up, we're just one of those families that everything's really competitive. And, we just try to win in everything that you do. And then as I got older, I played everything in high school. I played basketball, softball, and volleyball for 4 years. And it was at a really small school, so it was something that you could do. And then I kind of just went to college and wasn't really recruited to Chico, and tried to show up, and then eventually ended up doing really well. But I ended up having to redshirt my first year, and that was hard. It was something that was challenging because you kind of come in, you're from a small school, you have all the awards, you have all the accolades, and then now you're like nobody, right? You're not even making the team. And so you end up getting it's very humbling. But at that time it was 6 seniors. And so they decided to redshirt me, and then it just kind of put a fire in my belly and made me want to get better and maybe really compete. And, eventually, my freshman year I played not even a ton, but a good amount. And then I ended up starting my sophomore and junior and senior year and did really well. But so that just kind of, I think, opened my eyes to college basketball, because it was a time when it I don't know, it's not like now where everybody just kind of sees everything and knows everything. It wasn't on the TV. It wasn't, recruiting was way different. And then my coach asked me to coach with her, and I was just kind of like, sure. I didn't.
It was a natural progression.
I actually got my elementary teaching credential, so I went through that, got my credential, then came back, got my master's, and it's kind of a long story, but that's just kind of how it went. Was she asked me, and I said okay, and then I eventually left Chico, went and started coaching high school and teaching, and then the BU college job opened back up, and got back into college, and then haven't looked back since. So just I think teaching, both my parents are teachers, and just having that teaching background is ingrained and just something that we value, and I think coaching really aligns with that. And it was something that I hadn't planned on doing, and then now here I am making it my life's work.
And found your calling. And one final question: as a player, what kind of player were you? What was if I was to look up Joddie Gleason highlights, what do scouts see?
Yeah. Well, Joddie Vossler, that's my maiden name, so you'd have to look up that. But I was fiery. If you ask anyone that probably coached against me. Like I said, ultra competitive. So I was put up a bunch of, numbers and that kind of thing and had accolades, but that's not, I didn't care about those. It was just about winning. And so it was whatever it took to win. And I think that, one of my best friends calls me still Jekyll and Hyde, because I'm like super nice, she's my best friend, like off the court, but then on the court, it's like we're in battle, we're going to war. I think that just that competitiveness, you can still see it, that passion on the sideline. So I was more of as far as playing, it was, probably more of a forward. I would play inside or outside based on the matchup, so I slashed probably more than just pure shooter. My brother is a pure shooter. He's the best shooter I've ever seen, but I was able to fill it up by getting, to the rim, kind of counter moves, having a bunch of pivots and making counter moves and scoring that way. And then I think, like I said, just competitive. I was going to rebound. I was going to do whatever it took to win. And I think that just is ingrained from my childhood and from my parents. And just trying to, be your best. That's kind of the goal. It was never to be the best or to, that it was just always like trying to, it was personal motivation to be my best all the time. And I think that's what translates the most into my coaching and into our teams, is to, challenge yourself to keep improving, keep getting better, keep moving, that little 1% every day.
Well, fiery, I like that, and that's why Eastern Washington and the Red look good on you.
Yeah, we do. It's Red Friday, so we got to go all red today, and we love it, and I think that it's it's a great place. It's a logo that we're proud of, and I think our players are they kind of match coaching styles sometimes, right? I think Jamie and I have a lot in common with our fieriness and our competitiveness, but I think that our players are just passionate and they kind of feed off of it a little bit. I have to reel myself in sometimes, and so I'm better now than I was when I was younger, but still it kind of gets away from me sometimes.
Well, it's working for you this year. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, thank you. Go East.
Well, that wraps up this week's show of the Sports Council. Thank you for joining me on 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports. A reminder, the Sports Council happens 4 times a month, 11:30 a.m. on Thursdays. But you can listen to this show not just over the airwaves at 11:30 on Thursdays, but also on demand at 1340ESPNradio.com via podcast. Wherever you get your podcasts, just search for the Sports Council, and it's also available via YouTube. So lots of ways to listen to the Sports Council and support our local sports community. You're listening to 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports. Now we go back to your originally scheduled Seattle sports programming.